Good evening, neonates. It's been quite some time since our last discussion on the vampiric bloodlines, but thankfully, my dear friend here has kept me company. His insights on death and dealing with certain issues have been eye-opening. Now, if he would... well, I suppose our friend is a little shy. Such is the nature of the Stiffs, or more commonly referred to as the Samedi. They're a vampiric bloodline that's more known for their hideousness and zombie-like visage than really anything else. Since my guest for the evening has decided to conclude our discussion, I suppose it's time to tell you all about these zombie-like kindred. To start off, despite my dealings with their kind, there is very little information on the start of this bloodline. With other subjects, there's a clearly discernible starting point. The Telyavic Tremere is an offshoot of, well, the Tremere clan, but the Samedi are a little bit different. No one outright proclaims ownership of them. Their horrific physical traits liken them to the Nosferatu in a purely grotesque sense, whereas others claim that they come from another clan long forgotten within the annals of history, or at least modern history for that part. My guest offered me this sentiment before his untimely exit, that I shouldn't focus on the physical or the various powers that the Siths possess, but rather the name, that being Samedi. The name comes from Haiti, most notably being tied to a major deity or Loa, as they're referred to in voodoo mythology. The figure known as Baron Samedi is among a group of other spirits that rule over certain domains. Not just that, but due to the influence of Roman Catholicism, they are also linked to certain saints. For example, Erzuli Frida rules over the domain of love, who is linked to Mary, Our Lady of Sorrows, whereas Baron Samedi rules over death and is linked to Saint Martin de Porres, who was noted for his work with the poor and building a children's hospital. Remember that. We'll come back to it in a bit. Samedi just isn't focused on death, but really all that encompasses it. Tombs, gravestones, cemeteries, and oddly resurrection are all involved with the Baron. Many who are sick and on death's door will also call out to him, because only he can accept one into the realm of the dead. The Loa of Death is oftentimes cited for being rowdy, swearing and making dirty jokes, all the while sipping or outright guzzling his rum. His visage, along with those of the lesser spirits that follow him, are that of a decayed corpse. Considering the physical appearance of these kindred, it wouldn't be difficult for one of them to pass off as a servant of the Loa or of the Baron himself. In the previous video covering the Telyavic Tremere, they too were worshipped by the people they fed upon. Which brings me to my next point of intrigue. The oldest member and possible progenitor of this clan, of course, goes by the name Baron Samedi. A rotting corpse whose eyes run down his face, dressed like a man ready for a funeral, complete with a top hat and a cologne smelling of a masquerade. He is the very definition of the spirit given corporal form. Whether he specifically dresses like this to appear as the spirit, or if his very visage helps shape the beliefs of the spirit, is unknown. The only thing that is known is that he, much like the spirit he shares his name with, are tied to death itself. The exact start of the clan can be tied to the Caribbean, where their visage could at least be explained away to the townsfolk as a spirit of Samedi, doing their job ushering the dead. They haven't changed much from their initial rise to prominence in the 17th century. Their targets are primarily in the shadier parts of the Caribbean. There, they often prey on those down on their luck, perhaps knowing of the Baron's connection to Saint Martin, and using the man's well-known work with the poor as a way to take advantage of believers. Those who believe in the Loa are greeted by a servant of death itself. Samedi also let their prey come to them by masquerading as voodoo priests whose mastery over the dead can bring a loved one back for some time, enough to give the living comfort. The price is sometimes high, but many people who don't know where to go are often willing to pay in valuables or even blood. That's one side of the Samedi. Believe it or not, that tends to be one of the lighter ways in which the Stiffs make an unliving. Thanks to the vampiric powers and the oftentimes superstitious kind or humans that surround the Stiffs can often exploit these two factors to great benefit, especially when it comes to the underworld. It's not rare to see human traffickers, drug dealers, and the like putting faith in their mysterious Loa guardian that destroys their enemies while taking a cut of the action. Having a population that believe the dead can walk among them has its benefits. Along with the dark work among humans, the Samedi have also found themselves providing a much-needed service to their kindred brethren, that of the proverbial gun for hire. As opposed to the Assamites who kill on ideological grounds, the Stiffs do it for money or power. Their skills with necromancy and possession of the discipline obfuscate allows them to make quick work of a multitude of foes, which may be why many Camarilla princes turn a blind eye to their relationship with Kine. Able to hide in plain sight like the Nosferatu and skilled in all things death like the Giovanni, you would think that they would make a powerful tool to use against them if one was to step out of line, but not without good cause. No Samedi will accept a job against a member of either of these clans without just cause. And a healthy bonus, of course. Whether it's from a sense of companionship with these two groups or fear is not fully known to most kindred, although it seems that their relationship with the Giovanni is quite rocky. If word is to be believed, the leader of the Stiffs, Baron Samedi himself, has some sort of deal with Augustus Giovanni. What the deal entails, he's never spoken of. All that's known is that the two groups have had animosity for each other ever since. The clan is one of the least formally organized clans. They rarely come together as a group, and when they do, it's usually only a few members to talk about the events going on within their area, and then they're off again, back to their mostly solitary lives. However, there are rumors of secret Samedi gatherings, but those have yet to be confirmed. Their personalities oftentimes do little for them, like the spirit that they draw their name from. Many Samedi are not the most social beings, often being quite rude. Their obsession with death and the putrid stench of rotting flesh does little to endear them to other kindred. But if you can find a Samedi who isn't looking to kill you and you can stomach the stench, many kindred have stated that the Stiffs are wise beyond their years. Could it be their knowledge of death or the influence of the enigmatic Baron Samedi? No one really knows, just that they're secretive and knowledgeable beyond their years. Though largely known as an independent clan, the Sabbat and Camarilla both make use of the Stiffs. The Camarilla in need of spies and assassins that have few qualms about the work given to them, and the Sabbat who accept all who would follow their credo. As one could expect, the position of the very few Stiffs in the Camarilla is quite low. At times, the only members that they seem to find camaraderie in are the very Nosferatu that they oftentimes object to attacking. The Samedi tend to embrace those who have a particular fondness for death. Like a mortician or come from worship via voodoo beliefs, the Stiffs tend to choose those who aren't squeamish among the dead, because those who fall prey to the embrace will live the rest of their lives as a walking corpse. Which leads to the clan's weakness. They are, for lack of a better word, zombies. Their skin tends to leak fluid if poked or prodded. Noses and ears rot away or barely remain tethered to the kindred's head. Skin retracts from teeth and the area around the eyes. Despite where their noses, ears, or eyes are placed, or lack thereof for that matter, a Samedi can still smell, see, and hear. There's also another look that these walking corpses can take on, that of a mummy. For reasons unknown to any outside the clan, some Samedi are leathery and dry, as if they had been mummified. Despite their more pleasant appearance, they too smell of the grave. The physical features and horrific stench of the Stiffs cause them to have an appearance rating of 0 and fail all appearance tests. This weakness makes it particularly trying to find a decent haven. Many Stiffs find refuge in morgues, mortuaries, graveyards, and if hard pressed, the occasional meatpacking plant, where the smell or rot can be attributed to the surroundings. At times, the sewers also provide a refuge for certain Stiffs, but one needs express permission from the sewer rats or else problems will arise. The Samedi disciplines are fortitude, which multiplies a kindred's intense constitution to the point where a bone-shattering blow becomes nothing but a flesh wound, which is needed when you are nothing but skin and bones. Obfuscate is the uncanny ability for kindred to conceal themselves from sight, sometimes even in full view of a crowd, something that helps the Samedi uphold the Masquerade. But given the appearance of the spirits that they so often pass themselves off as, they at times can walk freely among the kind. Finally, there is the discipline that they alone wield, Thanatosis, the discipline of decay. Through a means only known to the Samedi, and no other group of kindred. The discipline can rot another creature from the inside out. One particular ability, putrefaction, provides a good idea of what this discipline is all about. With this ability, the character can, with a touch, inflict decay upon a target. Hair falls out, teeth loosen, flesh rots, and fungus grows on the skin. This power works on targets living and undead, and is obviously quite unsettling both physically and psychologically. But rumors persist that this is a surface skill, and that with more study into the discipline, a stiff would be able to rot even an opponent's muscle tissue, leaving them immobile and close to a final death. Hopefully you enjoyed finding out about the stiffs, and I have a new guest who's going to tell me a bit more about herself. Please be excellent to each other, and good evening.